E aí? Seus fela! Bom, como é que a Breathless nasceu? Madonna, com seu charme, conseguiu meter as garras em R&B. E o Rara falou, beleza, o papel é seu. Inclusive eles engancharam um romancinho aí. Bem, além de fazer Breathless Mahoney, ela também fez aí a trilha sonora. Na realidade, o disco I'm Breathless, ele é como diz na capa. São as músicas que fazem parte do filme e músicas que foram inspiradas para o filme. Nem todas as músicas que estão ali você vai enxergar no filme. Terminadas as filmagens de Tracy, Madonna saiu em turnê com a Blond Ambition Tour e aproveitou para filmar tudo que tinha lá.
Tour films, I think music tour films are always a cliche by now. You follow a band around. This is nothing like any other tour film that's ever been done, I don't think, since the Rolling Stones, maybe. Did you start out to make this kind of movie, or did it just kind of evolve this way?
It evolved, yeah. We started out just wanting to basically document what we were doing on stage and get some backstage footage to sort of, you know, shoot some black and white backstage stuff to cut away and give you a sense of being on the road, you know, but then I got more interested in the backstage footage, so...
The backstage took over, right?
It absolutely took over. I mean, and my rationalization for that was that I thought it is a live medium. Yeah. You know, most people will already have seen the show that want to see the show, and to try and really fully capture that completely, I don't think you'll ever. I think you'll always sell it short. Yeah. So let's concentrate on the backstage stuff because that certainly was more interesting to me. And I mean, we didn't really know exactly what we were doing, but.
When you were watching the rushes, or if you're watching the footage of this and you see yourself in it without makeup and you're wearing this little shower hat and stuff, did you think, gee, should I be doing this? I mean...
No, I said, ooh, I look really grody good.
Why would that be good?
Well, because everybody has a preconceived notion about me, you know, because I love to be glamorous and stuff. But, I mean, to show other dimensions, you have to sort of be willing to get down to the nitty-gritty, undress, so to speak.
Do you think this is a totally honest movie, the way it's come out?
Totally honest.
Is there anything you've held back at all?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but there's no way that you could have seen every aspect of my life in 2 hours. I mean, the camera, even if the camera followed me around for my entire life, you know, how can you ever really completely know me? But even a lie is very telling. So, you know, I'm not one of those people that think, oh, they know that the camera's on, they're not telling the truth. I mean, if you go into a psychiatrist's office and you say, you know, you sort of change the truth a little bit, or you make, you know, or whatever, there's still something revealing about that. Even a performer who's actually on stage performing, there's something revealing about their persona, their personality, their character.
Do you seek out in your own life? Do you seek total honesty in every situation? Or are you?
I seek it out. I can't say that I'm always victorious.
But if everyone were totally honest 24 hours a day, wouldn't somebody wind up getting hurt eventually?
Yes, because the truth does hurt. I mean, honesty is a frightening concept to most people, but on the other hand, if people got used to it, maybe it wouldn't be so frightening, and that's part of the whole thing about the movie. There's a lot of frightening concepts in the movie, which I think if people would allow themselves to be more open to on a day-to-day basis, it wouldn't be so frightening.
It's like there's a girl, I guess a high school friend of yours, Moira, turns up in this movie, and she's had a tough time, obviously. She wants you to be the godmother of her baby, and then you reveal out of nowhere that this is a woman who taught you how to make out and use tampons and introduced you to digital manipulation, I suppose we could say. Mm-hmm. That's. I don't think it was cruel, but it's so frank. I mean, she would probably be devastated, I would imagine.
I don't think she'd be devastated. In fact, she knew I was saying those things because she responds to my questions in another interview that she's, like, in other words, Alec, the director, went back to her and said, Madonna says you did this, 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 and she would look into the camera and frankly answer the question. I think if she didn't want to deal with it, she wouldn't have did it on camera. You know, she wouldn't have dealt with it.
And how do you think she comes off in this? She seems...
I think she comes off as a fragile human being, but I do think that she comes off as a person that loves me, that cares for me. I mean, and ultimately, I feel that I come off the same way. But the thing about Moira was that I really I hadn't seen her in so many years. And the meeting that we have in the hallway is a surprise. The director set the whole thing up and had her there waiting while I'm rushing out to go to a sound check. My head is spinning. I'm thinking about a million things. The next day is the Dick Tracy premiere, whatever, and I'm thinking, oh my God, now I have to deal with this. I mean, it's like an explosion from my past, you know. And those things that I said about Moira were, you know, part of an interview that Alec conducted where he was asking me about her and stuff. And it was really a coincidence that in Japan I start talking about her, you know, and I said to my makeup artist, you know, you remind me of somebody. And then it was a coincidence that I would happen to run into her because I had no idea where she lived. So
there's another. We don't meet a lot of your family in here. We know you have one brother on tour with you. He's an artist, but we meet Martin, your other brother, in this, and he turns up, and he's sort of trying to convince people that he's pretty tight with you too. It's not entirely convincing.
Well, he's a bit of a con artist. That's the charming thing about my brother.
But then you're telling us the security guy, if he turns up with his entourage, watch him because my brother's crazy. And then he turns up late and you've gone to bed. Yeah. And this is all being filmed.
Well, about 5 hours late.
Well, he has to crawl out with his tail between his legs and his friends with him. It's so touching, you know.
But that's life, isn't it? I mean, I wanted to show a slice of my life. And that's part of my life. And in a sense, that is a microcosmic sort of display of my relationship with my brother. I mean, I adore my brother, you know, but he's a real con artist, and in a way, he's a great actor. He's very entertaining. He has sort of a very dark sense of humor, and that's just, I like the juxtaposition of my relationship with my brother Christopher and my relationship with my brother Martin, you know, because Christopher's very much a part of my life, and always has been. You know, when I left and moved to New York, he came to New York too, and we are very often, you know, working in the same worlds, whether it's dance or theater or art or whatever. And my brother Martin has a very separate life from mine. He stayed in Michigan. He does very different things. He has different interests. He evolved in a different way. So I wanted to show that, you know, even though he's my brother, the differences, you know, of somebody. And that happens with friends. I mean, there are people that sort of grow with you and come up with you and you relate to them, and then there's people that they sort of went off on their own thing and did their own thing. So
you mentioned in the movie that people talk about how stardom changes you, but they don't talk about how it changes other people's attitudes toward you. Does that apply to your family also? Do they react to you in a different way?
Yeah, to a certain extent. But you have to understand my family's, you know, used to me for a lot longer than everybody else. So, you know, and I actually think they do a pretty good job of dealing with it all. My father's very good at sort of making sure that, you know, nobody gets treated differently than I certainly don't get any sort of star treatment when I go home, and he's as interested in the accomplishments of my other brothers and sisters as he is in mine. So, but it is to a certain extent, like I have certain brothers and sisters that don't like to call me by my first name now because the whole world calls me by my first name, so they call me by my middle name.
What do they call you?
Louise.
Louise? You don't seem like a Louise. I'm not sure if that would work.
I'm sorry you feel that way, Kurt.
There's like Kevin Costner also crops up in this. I thought it was really hilarious. I mean, is he aware that his little vignette in here is going to be in the movie?
Yeah, he knows it.
How does he feel about that?
I don't know. I haven't asked him. But do you have his phone number? I mean, we could call him up right now.
Well, maybe afterwards.
No, I don't. You know, I don't. I know I'm making fun of him to a certain extent. I'm basically, you know, I think Kevin has this sort of real Jimmy Stewart, aw shucks kind of image, you know, and you know, I just was teasing him about it, and I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable about showing that scene in the movie if I didn't make fun of myself constantly throughout the whole movie. So. No.
Has your father gotten used to the fact now? I know he's saying in this film he's objecting to the sexy parts of the show and says, "I know it's arty." And has he gotten used to the fact that you're sort of flaunting your boobs all over magazines?
I think his you know, his kind of protesting of it, you know, is almost like a reflex more than because I know he expects it of me now, and he doesn't, you know. Well, it was a little, you know, it was a little racy in some sections. Well, you know, I mean, he would never be specific with me, and then I go, yeah, right, Dad, and then we go on to the next subject.
Yeah. Why did you decide to go to your mother's grave site? That seemed like maybe pushing it. I'm sure some people will feel that's pushing things too far to take a camera crew to your mother's grave. I mean, you think it was tasteless, or?
Why? What's tasteless about it? My mother's death is a big part of my life.
Yeah, but taking a camera crew there, I think people might say, well.
Well, they would probably think if they were offended by that, then they would think that the interview with my friend Moira and my brother Martin and all the other really revealing things would be. I would think they would find the whole thing offensive.
you think some of your fans might? I mean, your fans go down to, I'm sure, 12 and below, no doubt. Do you think this is a movie for all of them? Do you think everybody should see it, or should it just be... It's an R-rated film now.
It's an R-rated film. I think that teenagers could certainly see it. Beneath the age of, what, I don't know, like 13 or something, I would, I think it would be good if if a kid like insisted they wanted to see it, that their parent was there to make sure to explain things to them that they didn't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the you also mentioned here that when your mother died, you thought that you couldn't understand what she had done wrong, and you wondered if you had done something wrong. Is guilt like a part of the Catholic guilt sort of thing, a motivating part of what you do?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, one of the many motivating things in my life, guilt. Yeah, sure.
Have you gotten beyond it? I mean, have you...
little by little, but it's very slow progress, because I don't know, there's a certain kind of humility that's taught in the Catholic Church, and there's a constant striving and a certain work ethic and an idea that, you're not supposed to really indulge yourself too much and to have many sensual pleasures or things like that. And one is brought up to believe in those things and to sort of live a puritanical life. And so you think, wow, I live in this beautiful house in the Hollywood Hills, and I can, have private planes, and I can have all these luxuries, and every once in a while you go, but God, do I deserve it? And I look at my friends and members of my family who aren't as lucky as I've been, and of course, then that also makes me feel guilty.
Do you look at it as luck, or do you not just look at it as achievement?
Absolutely achievement. I worked very hard for what I have, but I was lucky to have the nerve and the courage to do what I do,
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, most people who've gone through what I've gone through would have a very long tail between their legs.
Would they?
So, well, maybe.
I mentioned to you before we started here that this woman, Camille Paglia, who is an art professor in Philadelphia, who wrote a book called Sexual Personae, Attacking Academic Feminists, wrote in the New York Times when Justify My Love came out that she thought it was pornographic, she thought it was great, MTV shouldn't have shown it, and Madonna is the future of feminism. And I'm sure a lot of feminists probably disagree with this. Do you hear from academic feminists a lot?
I'm made aware of a lot of articles that are written. I know that at one point, I know they were teaching some course on me at Brown University.
Madonna 101? Or?
Something like that, yeah. And I've met, for instance, I was in the south of France, and this girl came up to me, and she said she was like a hardcore feminist, to get, working on her master's. I don't know if it was at Harvard or whatever, and she was very, she had all this literature that she said my name came up a lot in, and she said I was the topic of many discussions, but she was very into me and what I was doing, and she thought it was great. And so I knew that I had, so I'm aware of certain aspects. I also know that Bella Abzug attended one of my concerts in New York, which I thought was hysterical. I mean, I'm flattered, I mean, do you see yourself, do you ever think about feminism yourself, or do you just see yourself carrying out your life? I'm carrying out my life. I mean, I think about humanism. I think the things that I feel like need to be changed. I mean, I'm aware of it. I'm aware of sexism. I'm aware of racism. I'm aware of homophobia. I'm aware of all of these things. When I started out, I didn't go, okay, these are all these things, these subjects. It's just that I want to tackle, that I want to attack head on, that I want to try and make a change about. But that's sort of the way my life's gone, and it's almost it's a responsibility that sort of fell on my lap that I actually welcome.
Yeah. I think what Professor Paglia is saying is that feminism has failed because it's forgotten about pleasure, and you're bringing that back.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that.
Did you? There's also a vignette in the film which shows a gay pride parade in New York, and it has Queer Nation is in there. I wonder if you're aware of the group in New York that is now putting out posters that say "Absolutely Queer," and they'll have a picture of a very hot young actress or a very well-known
outing.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do you think of that practice?
I think it's a tough one. I think, it's it's an explosive issue, really. You know, on the one hand, I can see their point of view, the people that want to out people, and saying, you know, if people in powerful positions would come out and say they were gay, then the masses, or the people that don't understand, or the people that have prejudice against homosexuals and gay lifestyles or whatever, would see, you know, would get rid of their stereotypes that gay people are, you know, perverts or whatever, you know. If you know, a handful of powerful people would just have the courage to come forth, I think that's their point, you know, and saying, but on the other hand, that the other side of the argument is, you know, I'll come out when I'm ready to come out, or I'll say my sexuality or my sexual preference is nobody's business. You know, I mean, there's two sides of the story.
I think that dominates the argument, though, doesn't it? I mean, people have a right to say what they want when they want to say it.
Yeah.
And also, how do you know these people are gay?
Do have the right to say what they want to say. It's unfortunate that there aren't more outspoken people on gay rights, you know, that are in powerful positions. Yeah. You know, that's the unfortunate aspect of it. And it's unfortunate that saying somebody's gay is such a frightening thing in the world today, that it's such a frightening concept, you know.
No doubt, to some extent, because of AIDS, I would imagine.
Absolutely, right? Because of AIDS, yeah.
The premieres for this movie are going to be AIDS benefits, I gather, are they not? And you continue trying to do something. Do you read up on that? Do you try and keep up with what's going on medically with AIDS?
Yeah, I try to. Obviously, I mean, it used to be in the newspapers all the time. Now it's not like front page stories anymore. Yeah. But I get literature from Matilda Krim and you know, APLA and AMFAR and stuff, as far as, you know, recent developments and experimental medications and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay. Good. I wondered. In the film, your visit to Toronto is portrayed, and we had originally understood that you actually had to leave Toronto, escape Toronto, essentially, and run away. Is that what happened there? What was the upshot of all that? Didn't.
Well, I didn't really know until I was told that they will, if they're going to arrest you, they will be waiting for you at the end of the show. So the idea was, okay, well, if they don't, they may change their minds, so we better get the hell out of here, you know, before they do change their minds. So in other words, don't go back to the hotel and spend the night and leave the next day. So we sort of packed up and were ready to go.
Beat a retreat out of the fascist state of Toronto,
yes,
I believe you
exactly.
referred to it.
He got out of Dodge.
Will you be going back there ever again?
Oh, I don't think so.
Do you think there's a momentum in what you do that you constantly have to top yourself? I mean, especially after this movie, after Justify My Love.
It's not an idea the idea isn't that I have to top myself, but that I have to, you know, I have to expand my own horizons and tackle the next issue, or go further in terms of creativity and what it is I want to say and what it is I want to do. I mean, I don't want to just keep doing the same thing and saying the same thing. And the thing is that the issues that I'm interested in life are generally controversial issues, so it seems that I'm trying to do that, you know. But for me, I don't question it. It's like, this is what I have to do.
But you will have to do something more spectacular each time, I would imagine.
Well, doesn't everybody? I mean,
so few people actually succeed in doing it. People are very successful in doing it.
Right. Well, I guess they're not as masochistic as I am.
I mean, might there come a time when you just take the opposite tack and appear all buttoned up and, I don't know, with a parasol or something?
Well, I'm not going to tell you, because then it won't be a surprise. You see, that will be another spectacle in itself.
That's true. Maybe it's down the road a ways, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the whole Justify My Love
brouhaha.
Brouhaha, yes.
Oh, but can we talk about it on MTV?
I think we can.
Okay.
You know? Some of us wanted to see it shown on MTV, maybe late at night.
We won't name any names, will we, Kurt?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But I wonder what you made of the subsidiary controversy with the track being lifted from Public Enemy, and Lenny Kravitz is getting a lot of...
Yeah, but Public Enemy lifted the track from James Brown. I mean, if we talk about...
Well, they say they brought musicians in to do that track. They say that's a musical track they created.
Yes, but I challenge any rap artist to talk about originality, because they all rip off tracks from everybody else. I mean, that is the essence of rap music. You know, they have one would hope they have political messages or something to say in their rap, but generally it's all music borrowed from other people. So,
do you think this is a good thing, or is it simply theft?
I think it's inevitable. I mean, I borrow from people all the time in my work, in my videos. I pay tribute to painters and photographers and dancers and so on and so forth. And I think that it's inevitable, and I think one should look at it as flattery, you know, or sort of an homage being paid to somebody.
I know Public Enemy has talked about maybe working with you. They could really show you how this is done. Like
Hell, I'd love to work with Public Enemy. They are my #1 favorite rap group.
Really? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Were you aware of the Ingrid Chavez controversy? She claims she did the songs and you just overlaid vocals on top of it?
Yes, I was aware of it, but when Lenny Kravitz brought me the song, I didn't know anything about the fact that he had worked with Ingrid Chavez. I mean, I was completely innocent in this situation. And Lenny brought me a track with, you know, with vocals, with the lyrics written, and then I came in and changed the things that I wanted to change vocally or lyrically, and then did, you know, my version of it.
Muito obrigado, até a próxima!